Good morning. It is Thursday morning and such a beautiful morning. The sun is peeking out here and there behind dark clouds. Jenny Ray, good morning to you this morning. Is that Janisa? Yes. Good morning to you. Andrea and Steve Hauser, good morning. Lori Agassi, welcome this morning. Jan Akins, welcome. Deanne Fine, welcome. It was so great coming on to the church property this morning. Oftentimes I'm greeted by turkeys, but this morning there was two really big geese. I thought were turkeys when I first drove in. Like, no, those are geese. So they must be starting to make their migration back through the area. There's my mom. Good morning. Jim and Kathy Fuente. I think I saw Debbie King's name there. Stephanie Ellis, good to see you this morning. Welcome, everybody. What I didn't tell you yesterday morning when I did my surprise early live stream because of my meeting was that I had been up since 1:30 in the morning. So, and it was really, there was nothing wrong, nothing like my mind couldn't solve a problem or something. There was no problem to solve. I was just awake, lying in bed for, an hour and a half. And finally, I'm like, forget it. I'm getting up and maybe I'll read, I'll do something. And oftentimes when that happens, I'll get drowsy and then maybe go back to sleep. But I was in a conundrum because I thought if I go back to sleep, then I might oversleep, and so it was just easier to stay up. So good morning, Mike and Kim, Carmen Lego, see you guys. So last night when I went to bed, I was pretty ready. I was really trying to make it all the way to my normal bedtime, and I crashed hard last night. When I woke up this morning, I had what felt like a little bit of a hangover, just a mild headache, and just felt a little rough this morning. But it didn't thwart my morning routine of doing my devotion and so on. And here I am, and enjoying this beautiful morning out here. Barbara Del Rio, good to see you this morning. Daryl and Suzanne, if I haven't greeted you already, good morning. And there's someone who I need to greet today too, because normally they'll watch later in the day, and that is Janice Favre, because today is your birthday. Happy birthday, Janice. It's great to celebrate you today. So this morning I'm in Psalm 11. Good morning, Karen Lowe. I see you there. Psalm 11. And the opening line of this psalm is, in the Lord I take refuge. It's this assertion of, when trouble comes, what am I going to do about it? And the psalmist begins with, in the Lord I take refuge. And here's the alternative that he offers. Oh, Kyle Myers, I look a little rough. Yeah, thank you. and greetings to you this morning all the way in India. So good to see you guys, and thanks for being here. So the psalmist says, in the Lord I take refuge. How can you say to my soul, flee like a bird to your mountain? For behold, the wicked bend the bow and have fitted their arrow to the string, to shoot in the dark at the upright of heart. So trouble is looming. The enemies are, they have their arrows poised. They have their bow drawn. And they don't know exactly, they're in the dark, so they don't know exactly where I am, but they hope that arrow hits me. They're just randomly shooting arrows that hopefully will lodge somewhere in a mortal place in me. And the psalmist, says, that's just out there. There's just trouble out there in the dark. And so when I sense that trouble, where do I go? Where do I take refuge? The enemy says, flee to your mountains, go in hiding. But the psalmist says, no, I'm going to take refuge in the Lord. I'm not going to flee to the mountains. I'm going to go to where the Lord is. And so he continues in verse 3, if the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? Now remember, this is a statement built off the original statement, in the Lord I take refuge. I go to the Lord for refuge, because if I don't have God as my foundation, well, then what am I going to do? There's no place else really to go. He is the only one that provides a real secure footing. And he continues, verse 4, the Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes see, his eyelids test the children of man. The Lord tests the righteous. So I flee to the Lord. I don't go to the mountains. I take my refuge in God. He's in his, I see the evidence of him. So if I'm in Israel, God's presence is manifest in the temple and the Holy of Holies. I know that he takes seat on his throne in heaven. In other words, he is sovereign over all of creation. Where else would I go when I'm feeling troubled? I'm going to go to him. And I'm not going to go any further in the psalm just for the sake of time, because that really points to where my heart was at this morning. And it was the idea of God testing us. Where am I going to, when trouble looms in any kind of way, where am I going to go? Where and for me, I chuckled to myself because, fleeing to the mountains for me is a regular practice. It's my escape. It's where I fill up my soul. So in this context, fleeing to the mountains is running away from whatever is troubling you or the people that are troubling you. But when you come back, they're still there. It's not a permanent solution. Whereas finding refuge in God is a permanent solution. We can always go to God. God who sees us and tests the righteous, the psalmist says. And it's important for us to remember the purpose of a test. The test is to measure the quality of something. That is what tests do. And tests and trials in the Bible, and the New Testament is full of this language, is God's way of not only measuring the quality of our faith. Peter would call it approving our faith, and he uses the terms of melting down precious metals like gold and silver in order to the impurities will rise to the surface, and you can draw off those impurities, and you have a more pure product in the end. The refiner's fire is the idea of Peter. He says that's how our faith is proven or tested. It becomes stronger as a result of our continuing to run to God as our refuge, if we and not seek alternative ways of escape. I want to feel better now because I feel troubled, so we take measures of escape, which temporarily feel good, but they don't make us any stronger as a person. Whereas God allows us to run to him as a way of proving the quality of our faith. And so are we going to run away to the mountains? Are we going to escape? Or are we going to run to him for our refuge? And this is something that, sometimes we can just think of this in terms of very troubling circumstances, that really test our faith. But I think in daily practice, it's really more akin to the day-to-day choices that we make that really provide the bulk of our spiritual growth and maturity. How do we make choices every single day to take refuge in God? And this is, again, akin to this entire week's theme of pursuing the Spirit, cultivating our relationship with the Spirit of God, abiding in Jesus. We've just talked about this all week long. And this is, again, circling around to that idea of making daily choices to seek God, to run to God, to practice running to God, so that our faith is strong as a result, that we're going to grow and mature, that we're saying no, moment to moment, day to day, to those appetites that are not producing godliness in us. We know the scriptures tell us that our real core hunger, our real core thirst can only be satisfied or quenched through a relationship with Jesus. And it's in our small daily choices of continuing to run to God, to say no to some of those appetites that aren't bad. They're just appetites that kind of reinforce our need to be satisfied or comforted or have a temporary fix in the moment, but it doesn't help us in the long term to have really good discipline with our lives and so on. And this is born out of our daily choices at home, how we treat our family, how we treat our spouse. Are we dying to self so that we can serve our spouse in a more significant way to build them up and can cultivate strength and honor in them? Are we dying to self at our workplace so that we can not just do a good job, but to promote the cause of Christ through the quality of our work, and how we promote people, how we invest in people, how we create a product that is of good quality, that is reflective, because we recognize that God is our boss, not just the man or woman who is our manager or our boss in this life at our work, in our workspace. These kind of daily choices cultivate the quality of faith that when we are actually tested by greater troubles, we've practiced, we've rehearsed running to God as our refuge. So I just end our time here this morning with that encouragement of practicing running to God in prayer, in daily disciplines and meditation, in our daily choices. When we're struggling with anything throughout our day, do we escape to just stew on it and get angry and upset? Or do we say, God, you've got this. I'm going to come to you. What are you teaching me today through this? How do I need to express the liberty in my heart? I am free from being a slave to these appetites, or slave to comfort, or slave to having things my way on my time frame. I'm not a slave to those things. I'm free to allow you, God, to do the work that you are doing in my life in an ongoing way to test my faith, to increase the quality of my faith. So I'm looking forward to seeing many of you on Sunday morning. Remember, this Sunday we are going to just one service, and it is daylight savings. Daylight savings begins. I can't remember. We turn our clocks forward this Sunday, so don't forget that 1 hour. So God bless you this weekend, and we'll see you Sunday, if not right here on Monday morning.